Hey there, so this is Matt once again. What about another video? This is the paid request, this time from my friend Mike, OCP Communications. Wish him the best. I know he's going through tough times. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Just keep at it day by day. He sent in a request, thank you so much, for me to talk about, watch, and review 3 episodes of Amazing Stories. Now, first off, for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, feel free to send them either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this Amazing Stories is a show I did not grow up with. It was on for 2 seasons from 1985 to 1987, and it did not do well. In season 1, I think it got to number 40 in the ratings, and in season 2, it got to number 52. I think there was about 45 episodes. This was a big brainchild of Steven Spielberg. And you watch and you look at the credits of the episodes, there's a lot of directors involved. Like Clint Eastwood directed an episode, Martin Scorsese actually directed one of the episodes I'm going to talk about. Robert Zemeckis did another episode. I think Peter Hyams did an episode. Like, a lot of people were involved with the show. I think Joe Dante did one. I mean, I guess with Spielberg involved, there's a lot of people in the... Because at the time, TV was kind of known to be like, oh god, do a TV show. But I guess with Steven Spielberg involved, it was thought to be a pretty big event. So yeah, but it didn't really do much in the ratings. Now, the 3 episodes he wanted me to talk about was Mummy Daddy, Mirror Mirror, and Go to the Head of the Class. Mirror Mirror had Martin Scorsese directing. Go to the Head of the Class had Robert Zemeckis from Back to the Future and other films directing. I would say, of the 3 episodes, one I liked, one I did not like, and one I thought was okay. Silent, yeah. Mummy Daddy I thought was fun. It was goofy, it was silly, but I thought it was fun. You have this actor that's playing a mummy in a horror flick, and his wife is gonna have a baby. She goes into labor. He forgets he's wearing it. He goes and rushes to her. It was interesting to see Bronson Pinchot from Perfect Strangers. He was on Beverly Hills Cop as Sage. He's the director of the film. He even tries to tell him, hey, wait, you still wearing this stuff? And in the middle of driving, he realizes that he's got the mummy stuff on. Now, why he doesn't just rip it off, I don't know. I'm like... That's one thing about the episode. Because it gets to a point where Tom Harrison, who's the actor in the mummy suit, he's driving, he stops at this gas station. Tracy Walter, who was Conan's sidekick in Conan the Destroyer, he was Jack Nicholson Joker's sidekick in Batman, the 89 film. It was a Bob. He was in Drive and Marta Costos. He's been in a lot of stuff. He played the cook in City Slickers. He sees it and he gets scared by the thing, understandably so. Other rednecks like Brian James, who was in the horror show House 3 with Lance Henriksen. He was in... God, he was in a lot of films. He was in Blade Runner, of course. Time to Die. I mean, hell, he's in the first scene of Blade Runner. He plays a decent part in that. They start getting a posse because they think it's the legend of the mummy coming back to life. This is his legend in the area. I don't know why there's never a point where he's getting shot at. Why doesn't he just rip the stuff off and rip the mask off? I mean, it may hurt. Like, isn't there a way to get teeth out? I mean, I've seen a lot of makeup effects behind the scenes. Just take the stuff off. Take the... so you could talk. and then like try to take the stuff off. Like you just have to remember, why does he ever do that? It never answers that. Oh, so he doesn't get fired. He's ready to die and get shot. I think that's more important than getting fired. And he's already getting late to get to his wife, but he's almost getting shot. So they don't really explain that. So that was a bit funky with the story. Oh, I should mention the director did 2 films I liked. William Deere. He did If Looks Could Kill with Richard Grieco, which is a fun one. And Harry and the Hendersons, which I love, with John Lithgow. Love Harry and the Hendersons. And If Looks Could Kill is a fun movie. But yeah, I don't know why he doesn't do that. It's a good looking suit. I'll give the makeup effects, very good looking mummy suit. Now this is a spoiler, I do like the twist where there actually is a real mummy. I like it's a goofy episode, so the whole reason why I did it, it's a goofy, not supposed to take the episode that seriously. I mean, hell, there's a bit where the actor tries to do like a Kung Fu Elvis type of move against the mummy. And actually does like a fucking roundhouse kick against the mummy, so he falls to the grave. That was... I didn't expect... When I watched the episode, I didn't expect someone to roundhouse kick a mummy in the face. So that was pretty funny. The other thing that annoyed me about it, other than why didn't you just, take the shit off, or at least the stuff in his mouth to be able to talk, the posse gets him, and they put a noose around him, and they let the horse go. The noose just comes off. And then you see he just takes his hands out. Why? Why did the noose come loose? And I guess he just undid the knots and he was fine with his hands. But I'm sitting there going, why did the noose come loose? I don't understand that. They just fucked up. But I mean, it's goofy. Like I said, it's him riding on a horse. At one point, he's riding on a... I don't think it's a motorcycle. I can't remember what vehicle it was. But he does get to it. And I do like the bit where, like, the wife notices it's her husband, and he's holding the baby, and the posse, like Brian James and Tracy Walter, they're fun in this. And the other guy, I recognize the other guy, but I can't remember his name. I know I've seen that guy in other movies, though. They kind of see it, and like, oh, wow. And Tracy's like, the mummy's a daddy. Well, you know what they say? What? You're never too old. Like, those guys were fun as the posse. Him getting to the baby. It's a very goofy, silly, weird episode. The real mummy is back at the film crew, and now they're like unwrapping him. So I don't know if that means he's going to now kill everybody or what the deal is. Kind of ends there. I would say of the 3, that's the one I liked the most. Mirror Mirror, I wasn't really a fan of this one. I know it's Martin Scorsese directing it. I should like it, but I wasn't really a fan of it. Sam Waterston, who I liked as an actor, he's in this underrated film called Warning Sign from the 80s. He plays a horror novelist. He's being interviewed on a talk show. Dick Cavett, actually, who was a guy who ran a talk show. For those, they might not remember that. If you've seen Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, you know the talk show host that's interviewing that lady Zsa Zsa Gabor, and he turns into Freddy going, who gives a fuck what you think? That's Dick Cavett before he turns into Freddy Krueger. So he's being interviewed, Sam Waterston's being interviewed on the show, and talking about, he's a horror novelist, but they're watching a movie based on his work, or his writing. So he goes home, and he keeps seeing this cloaked figure in the mirror. And that's it for the whole episode. Now, Sam Waterston does not do a bad job. And from what I understand, the cloaked figure, who kind of looks like... He's dressed like the Shadow, the Alec Baldwin film, like the cloak hat. He's dressed like the Shadow. And I believe it's Tim Robbins. Because this is 85. This is before he really got famous. So it's a very early role from Tim Robbins in this makeup. And the one, other than Sam Waterston, the one other aspect I would say I liked is there's some decent, what the fuck is decent? There's some decent shots involving mirrors where the reflection could kill him. So he's like looking at a guy's eyes and he sees the killer reflected in the guy's eyes. Well, actually, no, guy's sunglasses. Or Helen Shaver, who I loved in Tremors 2 Aftershocks. She was in The Believers. She's in this. He sees the killer reflector in her eye. But there's never any explanation as to why this is happening. There's never an explanation of what this killer is, who this killer is. Is it a character from his novel or one of his novels? Did he hit some kind of curse thing? It's never explained. And then he's being strangled, and then he becomes the killer? He becomes the killer? So I don't know if we're meant to... Well, if you're a horror novelist, you become a killer? Or this killer... I would say the killer doesn't even inhabit his body, because then he looks at his... And he's scared, and he jumps out the window. So, I don't know what the hell the plot is really supposed to be. It's supposed to be like his psyche of horror catching up to him. But he doesn't seem like a guy that really deserves... I mean, he's a bit prickish to a guy that wants to, you know, show him his script. But I can understand because it's late at night and it's the guy's fucking house. You know, you want some privacy and stuff. And you gotta be paranoid of some stalkers. So he's choked, then he becomes the figure. He's scared of what he looks, and then he jumps out the window. And then it ends. I went, okay. That was a thing. So I didn't really find it that satisfying episode. Again, Sam Waterston doesn't do a bad job. He really does invoke the feel, the anxiety of being scared to death and paranoid. You really believe that he's scared for his life. The reflections, how that's done, decent direction. But just the story, there's really not much of a resolution or explanation or... Like, what the fuck? What? He's trying to kill him and then becomes him? But he doesn't... He's not becoming him because he's scared. You think if the killer's like, yes, I'm the killer now. I thought, okay, that's going to happen. He's going to kill Helen Shaver. But no, it's just another part of it. I don't fucking know. And I guess we're not supposed to know. So I didn't care for that episode. And then go to the head of the class. That's directed by Robert Zemeckis. Pretty much these two students. One who's always late. They're not caring for their teacher, played by Christopher Lloyd, who of course worked with Robert Zemeckis on Back to the Future. He's not a fan of the guy, of the teacher, and the teacher's very strict. Like there's a kid chewing gum, and he swallowed it. Oh yeah, what's this? Finds another piece of gum, makes him eat it, even though it's right under the desk. So he makes the student eat the gum. Very prickish, strict teacher. But Christopher Lloyd is having fun with the role. It was great to see him in that. So the two students, because the lady, I think it's Mary Stuart Masterson is the actress. She knows a bit about spells, including a record, hearing it go backwards. They go to a graveyard. This whole scene I didn't care for, because these two students, I have no reason to care about them. I mean, I don't really know them much. I just know this kid is tardy a lot and this girl likes freaky shit. Because I don't really get to know them much, so I don't really care. And then a good chunk of it is them sneaking through the graveyard. They're in a grave. They hide from a guy. They go into like a crypt. They steal some stuff, body parts. They put it in there. They find the teacher's house, and they see that he's dead. Whatever spell they did, he's now dead. Made him freak out, made him move, whatever, broke his neck, whatever. So then they try to do a spell to bring him back. And this is the fun part of the episode. I will say, this is why I didn't mind. I thought it was okay. He gets up and his head comes off, so it's Christopher Lloyd as a headless guy carrying his head around, and he's like throwing the head, and then pretty good effects for a TV show. You see the head, like the animatronic Christopher Lloyd head talking, "Mr. Brand, I will need to see you in detention." And like the funny bits, like throwing it through this like doggy door or under the door or something, so he just still keep talking, using the head to bash through doors. There's some nice effects in it, and Christopher Lloyd looks like he's having a ball. And like the heads through doors, it's some pretty good. Maybe nowadays it looks a bit stiff for people with the movements of the mouth, but I thought it was fun. For 1985, for a TV show, it was a fun piece of practical effects. So it ends with the girl escapes, the guy goes back to his home, Christopher Lloyd like throws the head through the window, and then the guy faints. Then wakes up, the head's gone. So I guess we're meant to assume that Christopher Lloyd went in, got his head, didn't do anything to the kid, went back. Maybe the kid is meant to assume he thought he was dreaming? Because he goes in, "Oh, I'm just glad you're right." "Well, son, I have a bit of a sore throat." He's got stitches on here, and the kid freaks out. I don't know what's going to happen afterward. That's the thing. It's like, well, what happens next? So that's kind of the annoying part. That's the thing with a lot of these anthology shows. There's anthology movies I like. I'm not an anthology show type of guy usually. There are episodes I liked, but I don't. Because sometimes it leaves that taste in my mouth like, well, what happened next? Or, oh, they didn't have the budget for this. Or I wish this was longer. And there's all these little things that come into play. So this I'm like, well, what happened next? Like, I guess he won't kill the kids because they'll put the crime on him. You think someone's going to notice this big fucking stitching? I don't know. I guess just they don't have to live with it. But Christopher Lloyd was having fun. He was having a ball. And the effects, I guess in a way, sort of a precursor to Death Becomes Her, where that was people with their heads rolling about, and only that was done much more bigger budget CGI. I guess it's sort of a warm-up for Robert Zemeckis for Death Becomes Her. You know, someone losing body parts and done for comedy. Only this is done practical, and it's done some pretty good work. Pretty good work. As for the show, I mean, I don't care for the opening credits. They're for its time. But considering some of these shows have been a bit darker, The Amazing Stories comes off like almost like a Saturday morning show for the kids. I would tell these amazing stories, but I guess other than Mummy Daddy, the others have been pretty kind of darker episodes. And also has very early like CGI from '85 and doesn't hold up the best. I don't know, just that and the tone of the music maybe fits with Mummy Daddy, but not for the others. It's like, hey, whimsical music, and then here's this guy ready to kill any reflection, and you become him, and you jump out the window. Oh shit, okay. I will say, makeup effects. I don't remember the one in Mirror Mirror, the Tim Robbins stuff. I don't remember the way his face looked. But the way the mummy looked and the way the head, how they made that look for a TV show, very efficiently done. Overall, like I said, Mummy Daddy I liked. Go to Heather Class was okay. Mirror Mirror wasn't really a fan of. So overall, not too bad, not too shabby. It is what it is. So, With that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we will see you guys later. Bye-bye.